Today's topic it's titled The Better Recipe for Holiday Eating. And I wanted to take a little bit of a different approach on this today, as you may have heard from other topics. I'm not going to condone you having some good dessert or some, one of those favorite traditional foods that you normally like to have, because, the holidays do only come once a year, and I know that as well as you do. So what we want to focus on today is try and shift a little bit more from the unhealthy fats to the healthier fats, because we know that fats are necessary. We need to have some fats in our diet. So focusing more on shifting to healthier fats, and then really focusing on more nutrient-dense foods. The holidays have so many healthy foods, right? We've got sweet potatoes, we have cranberries, we have turkey, very lean meat, There's a lot of healthy foods out there. We just tend to oftentimes make them unhealthy by the things we add to it. To make them taste better is what some people will say. So whatever your outlook is on that, we just want to focus on getting different things in our diet, and especially for the holidays. But what I wanted to ask is, what do the holidays mean to you? And if I were to ask my kids, they would mean Santa's coming and we put up the tree and all that, And they know that Jesus and those types of things are important. But for them, food doesn't really mean anything. They're too young to know that food carries traditions for some people and that type of thing. But that's something that, my husband and I will instill in them, and we'll talk about, these are the foods we have at the holidays, and this is why we have Christmas cookies, because it's Christmas, things like that. And so what I wanted to try and portray to you guys today is that the things that you do impact the younger generations as well. So when you're cooking for your kids and your grandkids and that type of thing, what they see on the table now is what they're going to think of when they get older. Okay? And so to think about maybe setting an example too for them, not only eating the healthy food or eating the foods that you like, but also keep in mind that you're setting an example. So I remember when I was a kid, my grandma would have sweet potatoes, but for me they're just like this orange stuff with a bunch of marshmallows on it. And I never tried it. And for me, we just had different traditions that I'm sure you all have some of your own. And if anybody wants to throw in a tradition they want to share, you're more than welcome to throw something in. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share?
We did candied sweet potatoes, not with the marshmallows.
Not the marshmallows, okay.
Tons of butter and brown sugar.
Yes. They taste good, but when you're done eating them, you know that there was more than just sweet potatoes in that dish. Anybody else have anything?
Goose with prune stuff in it.
Goose, okay. Okay. Does anybody eat goose anymore? That's not something you hear about as much. Do you? You have some?
Stuff.
Yeah? Okay. That's good. Anybody else have any other traditions?
We have a cookie, my mother was in Amana,
Mm-hmm.
and we make it on Easter and Christmas, but it's 4 cups of flour, half a cup of butter, sugar and brown sugar,
Uh-huh.
but it's only those 2 times a year.
Yeah. I know my mother-in-law makes a Christmas cookie that it's the kind that you set it on a napkin and you lift it up. You have the whole imprint of the cookie, because there's so much butter in it. And they're good, but you know that there's a lot of butter in it. So anyway, just some things that we're going to talk about today. All right. Why eat healthy during the holidays? Well, like I said, I'm not here to say you can't have that pecan pie or you can't have the gravy or the stuffing or that type of thing. But it's important that we eat healthy all year long and just be cognizant of eating healthy. Others want to eat healthy too. So don't go somewhere and think, I'd bring this fresh fruit salad, but nobody's going to eat it. You'd be surprised that people are going to say, somebody brought something healthy, and they'll eat it, I know when I go anywhere, I always bring vegetables because it's the most underrepresented food group ever. If you go to any place, what do they always have? Desserts. Everybody brings desserts. Nobody brings vegetables. If they do, it's a broccoli with cheese sauce, or mashed potatoes with gravy, or it's some vegetables in some pasta salad or something, So vegetables are important to have. But others want to eat healthy not only because they want to eat healthy, but they may need to eat healthy because they've got diabetes, they've got cardiovascular disease, they've had a heart attack or that type of thing. And they may not want to bring attention to themselves, but the fact that you would provide something like that is a good thing. So keep that in mind as you're bringing food for the holidays to someone's house, or if you invite people over, just to make sure you have some healthy foods available. And also, like I said earlier, to set a good example. this is just huge for me because I have young kids, and I know everything I do they watch. I know if I open a package of M&Ms, they can be 3 rooms away and they can hear me. Mom, what do you have? Nothing. So setting a good example, like I said, for the kids, grandkids, all of those things, and offering a lot of different types of food. So you don't get to be, someone, I wasn't an adult until I was an adult that I even knew what a Brussels sprout was, because Brussels sprout, what is that? We never had cauliflower as a kid. If it wasn't potatoes or corn, green beans or peas, we didn't have it on the table. And just to give you a background, I grew up on a dairy farm. We always had meat at every meal. We had whole milk at every meal. Drink your milk, you had to drink your milk. There's always cheese. There was very little fruits and vegetables in our diet, unless it was from the garden. In the summer we always had it, but in the winter, unless it came from a can, we didn't have it. So that's kind of where I came from. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have similar backgrounds as well. And so you know what I'm talking about when I say you need to have a variety of different things to expose the younger generations. Okay, some key components to add to meals. I'm going to start out with the fruits and the berries because we like them. They're good. They're naturally sweet. They taste good. Most people like strawberries. They like blueberries. They like blackberries, cranberries, and raspberries. And so I brought some cranberries today. I bought these, when they were right before Thanksgiving, when they're really cheap. And that's when I normally buy them and I stock up for the winter, or at least for a while. And one thing that I'm just going to try to talk about ways you can implement these items into your foods to make it easy. So for example, one thing that I do is my kids love sour things, so they'll eat these berries like they're strawberries. And I think they're crazy.
When you bought those, did you say you stock up? You just put them in the freezer like that?
Yep, just throw them in the freezer. Yep. So my kids will eat them plain. I know you had craisins in your salad, and that's one reason that we wanted to incorporate the cranberries. You can make your own craisins, but I think that's too much work. But you can also just incorporate just cranberries into food. And so, for example, a lot of times we'll see craisin nut bread or cranberry nut bread. And you can use craisins, and I think that's usually what they call for, but I just use these and I chop them in a chopper. Just get like one of those little choppers. And you can add them to a lot of things. So if you have 5 extra minutes and you're chopping one batch, just chop the whole bag, throw them in the freezer. Then it's time to make oatmeal or some other kind of muffins or something. You can just take out what you need and it's right there. You don't have to get the chopper out and wash it up and all that. So just cut up a bunch and throw it in the freezer so you have it. But it's great on oatmeal in the mornings. Don't add a lot if you don't like the sour taste or the not so sweet taste, but some of it is good. And we typically think of cranberries as in cranberry juice, which is okay, but then for diabetics you've got the added sugar. So just adding the cranberries for urinary tract health, also for cardiovascular health, is a good thing. Okay. Also we've got the berries: strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, which are great, but they're expensive this time of the year, and so they're kind of marginal as far as how they're going to taste. You never really know how good the strawberries are going to taste. But if you can get some of those, that's great, and make a fruit salad, or just use it as kind of a garnish too, if cost is an issue or if quality is kind of a issue as well. But those are some options. Or also getting the frozen and then making it into a sauce. So for example, if you have pancakes, make a strawberry sauce, or make a sauce over some kind of a dessert with the blueberries or strawberries. Citrus, I brought these in. I think it looks like lemon there, but oranges and grapefruit are coming into season. And you guys know what these are? Okay. Clementines, again, something I never knew of as a kid. But my kids think they're mini oranges, whatever you want to call them. But they can peel on themselves. They're great for kids. They can peel on themselves. They're a great snack. Amongst all of the cookies and cakes and all the good stuff for the holidays, having some segmented oranges is great because that's something you can pick up and eat easily too. If you throw this on there, they're probably not going to eat it. But if you open it and do all the work, just like cut apples, people will usually eat apples if they're cut, or same with peaches or pears or that kind of thing. But once you just throw the whole thing there, they don't usually eat it. All right, so vegetables. Speaking of seasonal things, sweet potatoes we see a lot this time of the year, but then unfortunately we don't see it the rest of the year. Same with pumpkin. We see it this time of the year, but that's about it, right? And so those orange things like the pumpkin, Sweet potato. Pumpkin is great in pie, but you can easily add pumpkin, make pumpkin pancakes. Oh, they're just a piece of cake. Just throw pumpkin in your pancakes. They're great. You have baked potatoes at work. I know I bring them to work all the time because they're real easy, but to make a baked sweet potato is just as easy, and they're much higher nutrients than white potatoes are. Very high in nutrients. So that's another option for you. Throw a little margarine or butter on it and some cinnamon. So for diabetics, cinnamon is great because it can help reduce your blood sugar levels. So that's another good thing. But sweet potatoes are wonderful. So think of when you're having your vegetables, getting a variety of different colors. Cruciferous vegetables would be things like your broccoli, your cauliflower, cabbage, that kind of thing. Again, when I was growing up, broccoli was something that came frozen in a bag with cauliflower and carrots. That's all I ever knew of broccoli because we never had it. Spinach is great too. And does anybody use spinach at all? You probably have some in your salad today, yeah? And then how do you use it?
In a salad or just eat it cooked?
Okay. And you can easily add spinach to lasagna. And if you have people that don't like spinach, you can chop it up and they'll never know the difference in there.
In that Welsh paper, was in the paper, there is a spinach lasagna recipe in there again.
Okay. And that's one thing, that's a great place to add it, but one thing just to be leery of is with a lot of times when you have spinach lasagna or spinach cheese, it's a lot of cheese. So, and that's one of those fats you don't want to have a lot of is the cheese. It's high saturated fat. So that's one thing to keep in mind, not only for people that have cardiovascular disease, but diabetics are more at risk for developing cardiovascular disease. So watch that too. The cheese is okay, but in moderation is really one thing to focus on.
I use a lot of spinach because it's so good for you. A couple of places I use it are in soups.
Great.
Like after Thanksgiving, I take my turkey
Mm-hmm.
and I mix it with Italian seasonings and chicken broth and potatoes and throw in spinach in that.
Perfect.
It's also really good if you're having a pasta
Mm-hmm.
to just take I've got fresh stuff and then I'll saute the spinach with garlic
Mm-hmm.
and olive oil
Mm-hmm.
and pasta.
Perfect.
Put it on pasta. If you want a protein, you can put cottage cheese with that, and that's really healthy. And
Very good.
there are tons of places you can put spinach.
There are. And it doesn't, as long as you're open to the idea, and some people I don't know why, some people are really opposed to spinach, but it's great for you. It's great for your eyes, of course.
I think people are opposed to it because what they got exposed to as a kid was canned spinach.
Yes.
Like canned asparagus, which is just awful.
Yeah. And I've never had that, so I don't think it would taste good. So I haven't. But also if you stir fry vegetables at all, and I know a lot of times, I'm a frugal shopper, but I'll go and I'll get a lot of the items that are, you need to sell them today because they're 50 cents and they're going to go bad. And I'll buy those and then I'll throw them all together and make stir fry and they'll last a couple days kind of thing. But then you can easily get spinach because a lot of times that'll date and it'll cost like $1 or $2 a bag and you can throw that in there and it shrinks down to nothing. But it's so high in nutrients, so it's a good thing to add too. Dark green leafy vegetables, other than your spinach, would be things like kale or collard greens. And so when you mentioned adding spinach to your soup, you can easily add things like kale to soup with turkey and that kind of thing, and that's a good thing as well. But add them to anything. A lot of times people will come in to see me, and I work as an outpatient dietitian, so I see people that come in for weight loss issues or food allergies or a lot of different issues, and we also work with overweight kids. And so one thing we try to expose kids to is more vegetables in their diet. And so I'll say, okay, do you have tater tot casserole? Yes. So add more vegetables to that. So instead of adding one bag of mixed vegetables, frozen mixed vegetables, add a bag and a half. Or, try and incorporate more vegetables into whatever you eat. So, reduce the meat usually and then add more vegetables. It's a good way to get more nutrients and reduce calories a lot of times as well. Mm-hmm.
What is a good way to cook collard greens? I got collard greens and they just turned out terrible.
Well, see,
I cooked and cooked them.
I think it depends on what you use it for. How I use it is we lived in the South for a year, and so we had a lot of kale and collard greens, and then I would just wilt them, and I'd put turkey sausage with it, and then add other vegetables to it, because it wilts down really easily. Oats. We live in Cedar Rapids, we have to talk about oats, right? But no, I also work with cardiac rehab patients, and so we talk a lot about oats and the benefits of soluble fiber. Unfortunately, a lot of people are walking around with high cholesterol levels and don't know it, or they have high LDL, which is their bad cholesterol, and they may not know it. And so it's important to add more soluble fiber to your diet. Well, how do you add oats to your diet other than eating oatmeal? Well, oatmeal is great, so we encourage you to do that. But think of toppings. If you make like crisp, like apple crisp, you add oatmeal to it. You could add, instead of white flour, use wheat flour. That's another option. But anytime you have a topping like a crisp like that, make sure you find a recipe, because a lot of times there'll be 3 recipes on the same page or something. But find one that has oatmeal in it. That's a good way to incorporate oatmeal. You can add it if you make granola bars, you can make sure that they're oatmeal based. Again, healthy breakfast is a good way. But oat bran in anything is also going to contribute that same benefit. The oat bran, Cheerios, or those types of cereals are good as well.
Meatloaf instead of bread.
That's right, or meatballs. And then also, a reason that I wanted to slide in here as well is during the holidays, don't skip breakfast. Make sure you eat breakfast. It's important. I know my family do this all the time. Oh, I'm going to have a big lunch, or we'll have a big dinner. Thinking no, because you're just setting yourself up to eat even worse than you probably already would. So make sure you have a good breakfast. And oatmeal is a great breakfast because it sticks with you for a long time. It's filling, it's high fiber, it's a great option for breakfast. So think healthy fats. Now I mentioned that at the beginning. I wanted to focus more on the healthy fats versus the unhealthy fats. Unhealthy fats would be something like cheese, we talked about. Not that cheese is bad, but it's an unhealthy fat. So you really just need to moderate how much you have. What would be another source of unhealthy fats? Meat. Especially like poultry skin, the fat around beef or pork. That's solid saturated fat. Anybody else know of other options or other?
A lot of crackers are really high in fat. You don't think of the crackers in the cookie, you think, it's healthier, but a lot of those are really high in fat.
They can be. And one thing, too, that I wanted to bring up, and I didn't bring it in, is fats that you really see a lot around this time of the year are going to be almond bark and the tropical oils that are in almond bark. And I know lately movie theater popcorn's been getting more press because of the tropical oils that it contains. Whether it be coconut oil, palm oil, or palm kernel oil, those are the tropical oils that are higher in saturated fats. And so you think of the
soybean oil.
No, that's fine.
Oh.
It's a healthier one, yep. So you think of the saturated fats as being the fats that are going to be high, they're going to be contained in the meats and high-fat dairy products, but we often overlook the tropical oils. And so other than, like I mentioned, the almond bark, so you see the almond bark covered pretzels that are so nice, and the almond bark dipped strawberries that, they look good, but they're probably not the best. But they're halfway there, right? They got the strawberries. It's just the other half. But also things like yogurt-dipped raisins or yogurt-covered raisins. That's not yogurt. We know that's not yogurt. So look at the ingredients, and it's usually going to be a tropical oil. Or if you think of banana chips. So if you're having like a trail mix of some sort, and there's banana chips in there, they're oftentimes fried in coconut oil. Okay, so just some things there, to look at. So often you think, bananas are good, raisin-covered or yogurt-covered raisins, that's all good, but you need to just be a little skeptical and look at the list of ingredients and see what's in there, okay? So again, we need fats, but we need the healthy fats. So the healthy fats, anybody know where you can find them? Here's 3 ideas right here. Yeah, avocado. Oils, and especially your olive, canola, those are your highest. Peanut oil is good. Those are your all-purpose oils that work the best, that are going to be the highest in those healthy fats. Soybean oil is good. You find soybean oil in vegetable oil. Vegetable oil is primarily a soybean oil. But that has more of the polyunsaturated fats. We're trying to focus more on the monounsaturated fats. And those monounsaturated fats are more heart healthy. And again, you'd find those in the canola, the olive, and more of the peanut oils. You find them also in things like walnut oil and flaxseed oil, but those oils don't cook very well. So if you want to use it on a stir fry or something, Yeah. So if you're going to use a different type of oil, make sure you know what it can heat to.
What about sesame oil?
Yeah, that's good too.
That's an okay?
That's a good one too. Yep. Again, those are all good, but it's the canola and the olive we hear about the most because they're most readily available to us. So again, we need to have some fat. How much fat? Everybody asks, how much fat should I have? And if you're following a 2,000 calorie diet, it's about 65 grams of fat. Okay. But only 15 to 20 of that should be saturated. So if you think of having a piece of cheese, 1 ounce piece of cheese has about 6 grams of saturated fat. Just to kind of put that into perspective. So if you have a couple pieces of pizza, it's not something you want to do every day, because you'll easily blow your saturated fat allowance in just the pizza. Okay. And that's not even counting pepperoni or sausage. That's just the cheese. Okay. Any questions on that? Also, walnuts are listed here, and we're going to talk about nuts right now. Oh, see, that guy's working. So there's my squirrel being chased by a badger for the nuts. So anyway, some healthy nuts: Brazil nuts, pecans, walnuts, almonds. Pistachios are good. We'll talk about seeds in a minute, but these are some healthy nuts. Walnuts specifically, I just wanted to draw your attention to, contain omega-3 fats. So if you've heard of omega-3 fats, you may take an omega-3 supplement or you may take fish oil, but omega-3 fats provide heart health. They're good if you haven't had a cardiac event. They can help prevent or delay the onset of any cardiac event. But also almonds are good. They're high fiber. Again, they contain those healthy fats. So people often say, well, I take a turkey sandwich to lunch every day, or a turkey and cheese sandwich to lunch every day. I'm not really sure how you mean I need to incorporate nuts. And so what I'll say is add a peanut butter sandwich instead, right? That's going to incorporate fat, but it's a healthy fat, okay? Not that you have to do it every day, but that's just a suggestion for you. Maybe instead of having crackers and cheese when you get home, maybe have a handful of almonds as a snack. Those are just some ideas. Add them to dishes, to toppings. If you have sweet potatoes, I brought in some walnuts. You could crush these and add them to the top of sweet potato casserole or some kind of a dish, or add these to oatmeal. It's a great suggestion, or your cereal. I'm sure there's other ideas I'm not thinking about right now, but these are some good options for you. Next is seeds. Flax seeds. Have you heard of flax seeds?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You guys use flax seeds? And how do you use them?
I grind them up and
Good.
Put them in my oatmeal.
Good.
After it's cooked.
Perfect. It's so interesting, the whole gamut of flax seeds. I hear people that use them all the time, and some people that haven't heard of them. What are they? And that's okay. That's my job, is to educate you on that. But flax seeds, if anybody doesn't know what they are, they look like small sesame seeds, but they're extremely hard. So you can't chew through them unless you have really good teeth. But typically you can buy them whole, or you can buy them ground. And if you buy them whole, you want to grind them, like you said. Because when you grind them, then you can actually utilize the omega-3 fats that are inside of the seed. If you buy them and just eat them whole, you get the fiber from it, but you don't get the omega-3 fats. Okay, so if you buy them and you grind them, you get the omega-3 and the fiber. So the ground is the better option. And a lot of times you'll see cereal that has cereal that has flax seed in it, but a lot of times they're the whole seed. Or you'll find granola bars that have flax seed in it, and that's a big selling point. Oh, flax seed, I'll buy it. Well, but they're whole. So again, you get the fiber, but you don't get the omega-3 fats. So just kind of be aware of that you want to have them ground. And then if you do buy the seeds and you grind them yourself, put it in the fridge or the freezer, because they'll go rancid. It'll go bad because it has oil inside.
How long do they?
They usually say like 6 months, but I know I've kept some longer. And if they go bad, you'll know it. Yeah. Don't make a big batch of anything that's marginal, that you're not quite sure if they're good or not. Just try them first. You'll know. But you can easily add flax seeds to oatmeal. That's great. Mix it in. I know I'll make a big batch of oatmeal for the family, and I'll just throw in a handful, and it tastes fine. Nobody knows the difference. Pumpkin seeds, of course, it's the season for pumpkin seeds, so you can buy them or you can easily make them in the oven. Just brown them, throw some olive oil and a little bit of seasoning on it, and you're good. And then sunflower seeds are very good also. So sunflower seeds, I always think of the baseball players chewing on the seeds and spitting out the outside, but you can find sunflower seeds and add that to a lot of different items as well. Again, a good snack. If you make things like bars or granola bars, you can add that real easily. The ones that are already without the shell. Okay, whole grains. When we talk about whole grains, you may have seen, I guess it's probably about a year ago, when a lot of the cereals would say whole grain contains whole grain, and you're thinking there's no more fiber in it than there was before, so how is it a whole grain, right? But they're made, any food that has a whole grain can say that it's whole grain. So even if it's a corn or rice, and it might not have any more fiber, it still has the whole grain. And the whole grain is beneficial because you get more nutrients from the whole grain versus just having the refined grain. So when we think of whole grains, we usually think of whole wheat bread, but there's more than just wheat. There's barley, there's rye. Again, around the holidays you can serve whole grain breads, rolls, pasta. Whole wheat pasta or multigrain pasta is a great option. It really increases your fiber intake, but you a lot of times can't even tell the difference. And have you guys tried the multigrain pastas or whole grain? Yeah. And if you haven't, I'll just tell you, because I know some women will say, I make it, and my husband says, oh, it's brown, I won't eat it. And I say, well, just put sauce on it, and he won't even know the difference. But if they notice, or if your kids are selective about it, if you get a multigrain pasta to start with, that usually cooks down and it's almost white. Can't tell the difference. The whole wheat, it does look a little more brown. So you want to try it. That's a good starting point, is to try the multigrain first. And they have multigrain in spaghetti, all the different shapes of noodles. So adding that is such an easy way to get more fiber in your diet.
Visco has some crackers that have 5 fibers.
Mm-hmm, 5 grams.
Multigrain or something, and I think I sort of like them.
Mm-hmm. Yep, crackers.
I'm going for the fiber.
Yep, and you want more fiber.
There
Yep.
are other ones, they probably have 1 or less.
Yeah, crackers really run the gamut of good for you and really marginal, So you really have to be able to read a food label and decipher whether that's really a good one or not so good. All right, any questions at all on whole grains or comments? Okay, and one thing too, if you're looking at trying to get more whole grains in, and I know, for example, we always have wheat bread at our house, we never have white. And so the kids they're used to brown bread. But if your kids may not be, or if you have relatives that may not be, you could try and make it look better, kind of have a little better presentation by making, whole wheat or wheat breadsticks or twists, bread twists, or clover leaf rolls or muffins, make cornbread muffins, or, that kind of thing. So they're going to get a different type of, still the whole grain, but maybe a different presentation can sometimes help.
If you do something like pumpkin bread or some of the darker breads,
yeah,
substituting part of your flour, whole wheat flour,
yes,
you can't tell the difference.
Exactly. Yep. If you do pumpkin bread is great. Yeah, make some pumpkin bread, and I don't know, what I usually do is add half wheat, half white, and there's really not much difference in your end product. Don't go 100% wheat because you're going to have a brick and it's going to taste terrible. But if you do half and half, it usually works out just fine. Anybody else have any suggestions in that area, or what they've done, or that's worked or hasn't worked?
Also those multigrain cereals, we always think of oatmeal and wheat, but there are a lot of really good multigrain hot cereals too.
Yep. I know Bob's Red Mill has some that are good multigrain. And then if you're sick of oatmeal, they have a lot of different cuts of oatmeal. So if you haven't had like steel cut oats, that's good. Where if you think rolled oats is okay, but you just want something different, you get to chew your texture with a steel cut oats, or just trying to vary it that way. I had to include yogurt because of the cold and flu season. And does anybody know why yogurt's a good thing this time of year? Yeah, the antibiotics. Yeah, the probiotics in yogurt are great. We've been, of course, the H1N1 scare is still going on, but I think it's kind of lessening a little bit right now. But yogurt can really boost your immune system, and they've done studies showing that people that eat yogurt on a regular basis do have a better immune system, better immune function. And I don't know whether that's just the yogurt or because they eat better, overall. But yogurt is good. The calcium in yogurt can help improve your blood pressure. How can you add yogurt on a regular day. Usually you just kind of go to the fridge, grab it, and eat your little tub of yogurt, and you're on your way. But if you want to try and incorporate it more into meals, you could always make parfaits, add some add some fruits, and maybe some flax seed or some granola type oats or that kind of thing, and have it in a parfait. And if you put it in a nice cup, it's martini glass or whatever you want. But that's a nice presentation too, to get more yogurt. And then to serve it as a dessert is great too, because it's healthy and it's a dessert. Any questions there? Okay. Eggs. I just had to have eggs because the eggs get so much bad rap, and they really do. And eggs do have a lot of benefits. Now, granted, they have high cholesterol, and that's not anything that we can change. They do have high cholesterol. There's about a third of the cholesterol that you want for the day in one egg. So there's a lot of cholesterol. So if you've had a cardiac event, which means if you've had a heart attack or you've had some kind of a issue that brought you to the hospital because of your heart, you want to limit your egg yolks to no more than 3 yolks a week. But if you haven't had any issues and your cholesterol is okay, then don't worry about that. The yolks have a natural source of vitamin D. We know vitamin D has been in the press again a lot lately because it has a lot of chronic disease fighting potential. So that's the good thing about the yolks. They have vitamin E, they have choline, they have a lot of good things for us. And I know a lot of times people will say, well, I stay away from the yolks. And I'll say, why? There's fat in there. And I think, but it's really not that bad of a fat, And so to have an occasional egg yolk really is an okay thing, right? And then if you're really concerned about the eggs, you can buy eggs that have omega-3 fats in them. So if that's not enough to get you to eat some eggs, if you buy some with omega-3 fats, it's another benefit too. So, and the good thing too about eggs is it's a warm breakfast, and sometimes you just need something warm to carry you through. And so again, in the holidays and in the winter, when we really want you to have a breakfast, if you have a couple eggs, it's okay. You don't need to have no need to have a 5-egg omelet or anything, but an egg or 2 is okay on whole wheat bread or that type of thing. So that's a good thing. Food doesn't contain HDL, and that's a good thing to bring. Now, when you talk about the good and the bad cholesterol, HDL is a good cholesterol that you find in your blood. LDL is a bad cholesterol. We talked about LDL earlier and how the soluble fiber can bring that LDL cholesterol down. HDL is something that you can't find it in a food, but some foods that you can eat can bring that down, and that would be things like your healthy oils. But usually when we talk about bringing your HDL down with food, we don't say have a lot of these oils because they're good for your cholesterol, because then you're going to gain weight.
No, you want to bring your HDL up.
You want to bring your
LDL up.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So if you want to bring your HDL up, you don't want to have a lot of those high-fat foods. You want to just swap the source of your fats around. But eggs don't really have much to do with that. Yeah.
But you use the egg whites. I've done
You can
that.
egg white. Yep.
2 egg whites and dump 1 yolk.
Yep. You can do that, or you can get egg beaters, or yep. That's true. Then turkey. Of course, the spotlight of the season is turkey, and turkey is great. Like I said, low fat, lean protein. Take the skin off. Ham is another meat that we have a lot, and meat is fine. Ham is okay as long as it's lean. But the only problem is the sodium. So really, just minimize how much you have of that. And then I saved the best for last. And we've got some here. I don't know if Lynn, you want to help here. I mentioned earlier the chocolate-covered strawberries, and this is not an almond bark. This is a dark chocolate, and so what we've got here are dark chocolates. And have you guys had dark chocolates? Dark? Okay. What do you think?
Bitter taste.
It is.
But you get used to it.
It is bitter.
Satisfying.
What's that?
They're satisfying.
They are.
Yeah.
You don't eat a whole bar of it.
No.
No. And so what I've got here are the 60%, and it goes up to 72 to 86% cocoa. So they're really dark. They're real dark chocolates. I also brought this one along, the unsweetened baking bar, which I'm sure you guys have probably tried at one point or another, and you think, oh my gosh, how does that taste good when I actually make food with it? But anyway, So I've got some of those. If you want to pass them around, you can just ask Lynn, or maybe you can request. Some of those are the not quite as dark. But we wanted you to try them. If you haven't had them before, we just wanted you to try them because I know how it is. If you haven't tried it, you don't always buy it. You just always kind of wonder what it tasted like until somebody makes you get it. So
They would make the Hershey's Kisses in dark chocolate because that way in the dark chocolate
they do, but they're not this dark. And that's the thing is the 60% is kind of the cutoff. They want you to have 60% or higher. And even the Hershey's special dark chocolate chips are like 45%. And I tried to look, when I was buying these, I tried to look and see what percent of cocoa the Hershey's Kisses were, and they didn't say.
just that little bit, because to me it's very bitter, and I know it's
Yeah.
good for you, and I'm really tempted to eat a lot.
More,
but
yeah.
it's that little bit.
M&M, dark M&Ms are a little better because it's got that candy coating, so it's sweet. You really don't notice it. But if you get Dove dark chocolate, you don't really notice the difference.
So yep.
How much is that?
See, and that's
Higher,
the
but I don't think it's not high enough.
yeah. I don't know that it's 60. That's one thing to look for is that, and the reason for it is because well, I'll let you pass them out. And we'll talk about it. Does anybody here want the 60%, or do you want to try the other? Everybody want to try the higher? I haven't had the 80%, so I think I'm going to try one of those. Do you want one? Okay, there you go. If you want to try one of the others.
World's finest chocolate that the kids sell.
Yeah.
They now have a dark chocolate and almond milk, but I don't know what
Oh, yeah.
percentage it is.
One of
Probably
those.
not high because otherwise people wouldn't buy it unless they injected it.
Share one with her there as well. There you go. I'll give you this if you want something else. Want a 60? All right. So what do you have? You have the darkest? What do you think?
Pretty bitter.
Yeah. See, and what I wanted to try is that compared to this. But I don't know that this is a... Think it's good? The 60% is definitely the most mild of all of them. Yeah. It's good. And the thing about it is, I know people that like chocolate. What do you have left? You know, usually in the States we have mostly milk chocolate, and that's typically what we find everywhere. But if you think about chocolate as related to really any other food, the more you refine it and take it away from its original state, the more diluted it is in nutrients. And the same goes with chocolate. So the richer it is, the more nutrients it contains. Okay, so just something to kind of keep in mind.
So the higher this number is, the better it is.
That's right.
And the worse it tastes.
Yes. So that's where I think that's where they found the 60% is probably the better tolerated amount. Yeah. And maybe nobody else would either, or not much, you know. They wouldn't take a handful by any means, right? So dark chocolate is better because it's richer. Okay, it's higher in antioxidants, has cocoa phenols, which is the benefit of there. And what they found is that it can help to lower blood pressure. Okay, so is it because we're eating chocolate and we like it, or is it because it really helps our blood pressure? You know, sometimes it's like when you go get a massage. Are you more relaxed because you're going to get a massage, or are you relaxed because it's actually the massage, you know? But either way, it can help lower blood pressure, and that's what's important. So again, the smaller amount is what you need. Just minimize, the quantity, because it is higher in fat, it's higher in calories. But if you want a treat, it's a good treat to have a small amount of. So, again, add in small amounts because of the calories. Hang on, I'll back up one more time. And so again, based on this, one thing I also wanted to mention that kind of goes along with saving the best for last would be things like wine. Red wines are also good. Dark beer is good as well because they tend to have more nutrients, they have more beneficial qualities to them. So around the holidays, I know we indulge a little bit in some of these things. And so just so you know, if you have a dark beer, it's going to be better than a lighter draft beer.
Is it grains? What is it you get out of the
Yeah, it's just the grains, they're less refined. Everything less refined. Again, the wine, it's the red wine. Even though white wine's good, yeah, they just don't have, it doesn't have the nutrients that you're going to get from the dark red wines. Okay?
Okay, let's go to vegetables. What about broccoli compared to cauliflower? Or what about a red apple compared to a red delicious?
No, not much. No, not much there. And in vegetables, you want a color variety because you get different nutrients from the different colors. Yeah, so that's different.
What about that newest hybrid is in the broccoli and cauliflower?
Broccoflower,
Yeah.
where it's a combination of broccoli and cauliflower. They just have combined. Yeah, they're both. That's good too. Just like some of those other, like the pear apple, or some of those other things that you'll see from time to time. They just have it's just a different hybrid, but they still have all the nutrients. Yeah, different taste.
What about frozen versus fresh?
Frozen versus fresh, they're both good.
Doesn't matter. What about for fruits, do you think?
Sometimes they'll say, that usually you hear fresh is best, but sometimes if you have, let's say for a broccoli that's been sitting in your fridge for a week versus something that's been frozen right when it's at the peak of freshness, it's going to have more nutrients. And you don't know how long it travels, like you said. Did this apple travel from Washington and it got here a month later versus picking it off the neighbor's tree, So it depends, and we don't always know those kinds of things, how long it's been sitting around before we eat it. So sometimes the canned or the frozen is better. With canned, you're going to deal with sodium, and you can get a lot of no salt added vegetables now. You can also rinse off vegetables that you do have in a colander, and that reduces the sodium by about 40%. So that's a pretty significant reduction. But if you think of it, the fresh tends to be better, especially for vegetables versus the canned, unless you get the no salt added.
When you rinse, like if you had a can of green beans and you rinse it, the sodium, does that really cut the sodium a lot?
By about 40%. Yeah, so not quite half. It reduces it by about 40%. So it's a significant reduction. But if you think of a half a cup of vegetables having 300 milligrams of sodium, and you're reducing it by 40%, you're still going to have over 150 plus milligrams of sodium versus having none if it was fresh. So it just kind of depends there. Any other questions or comments? And the last thing I said in conclusion is you are what you eat. You can see the guy with the burger. We all make exceptions, but keep healthy an option. So make sure you have healthy options available. Great. Thank you for coming. Have a happy holiday season.